I want to tell y'all a story called The Place at the Edge. There was a place at the edge of the world. Not the kind of place you'd find on a map unless you were really looking. The kind you felt when the air changed, when the wind carried salt and stories, when the people who lived there seemed different. It was a small place, not simple. The town was full of contradictions, artists and engineers, quiet thinkers and loud dreamers, people who built things with their hands, and people who built things with ideas. They didn't always agree. In fact, they rarely did. But they cared, and that mattered. For a long time, there was something else in that town, too. A presence, not a storm. You could see a storm coming. Not a fire. You could feel the heat. This was quieter than that. It lived in whispers, in comment sections, in half-truths dressed up like certainty. People called it many things, but simply, they called it the bully. No one could quite explain what the bully wanted. Control, maybe influence, the ability to tilt things just slightly without being seen doing it. The bully didn't need everyone, just a few voices, loud enough, repeated enough, because in that place, like anywhere, uncertainty could spread faster than truth if it was fed often enough. And for a while it worked. Good people hesitated. Strong voices softened. Conversations became careful instead of curious. Not because the people were weak, but because they were thoughtful. And thoughtful people pause when things become unclear. But something unexpected began to happen. Not all at once, not loudly. Quietly, people started to ask better questions. Not, is this true, but where did this come from? Not, who's right, but what actually happened? And more importantly, not, should I stay out of it? But what happens if I don't speak? One by one, they began to show their work. They opened doors instead of closing ranks. They linked sources instead of trading rumors. They said, here's what I know, and here's how you can check me. It wasn't flashy. It didn't go viral. But it did something far more powerful. It rebuilt trust. And then something shifted. The bully didn't disappear, but the space it depended on did. Because the community had changed the rules, not by force, but by choice. They chose curiosity over assumption, clarity over performance, courage over comfort. They disagreed openly, often, and respectfully. They said things like, help me understand how you got there. And they meant it. They learned how to sit in tension without turning it into division. And without even realizing it, they had made something the bully could no longer use. A community that thought for itself. In time, even the bully grew quiet. Not because they were defeated, but because there was nothing left to control. And when the bully finally stepped forward, not as a force, but as a person, something remarkable happened. They weren't exiled. They weren't shamed. They were welcomed. Not into power, but into community. Because by then, the people understood something deeper. No one tries to control what they already feel safe within. Years later, people from other places would visit. They would ask, what did you do differently here? And the answer was always the same. We didn't fight for control. We built something stronger than it. And if you stood at the edge of that place where the wind still carried salt and stories, you could feel it. Not perfection, but something rarer. A community that chooses again and again to think, to listen, and to lead together. I hope you like the story. If you feel inspired by it, just remember, fiction serves a purpose.